everybody. I am so excited to have you join us today with my very good friend, Dr. Jay Greenstein. If you have not heard of this amazing man, let me just... What?
Just saying hello.
See me? Hear me? What?
Yeah, I'm just saying hello.
So let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Jay. So he is an incredible sports chiropractor. He's been working with the Washington Redskins cheerleaders for a number of years. But that's not the only part of athletics in this country that he works with. He also serves as the chiropractic representative for the National Athletic Training Association, International Association Task Force for Cervical Spine Injured Athletes, and the Maryland State Taekwondo Association medical chairperson and team physician. He was also has worked with, let me see, hold on. I have a list because he's done everything. Participated with the 2008 Beijing Olympics, served as a committee member for the Federation of International Chiropractic Sports Research and Finance committees from 2011 and 2014. He owns a multitude of clinics throughout the Maryland, Virginia area. He's very passionate about research and has an incredible love of books and knowledge. And if you ever are looking for a good book to just for, building yourself up, building up your business, inspiring your team, trust me, I have my list of books that he gave me about 5 years ago, and I've read all of them. Absolutely amazing, makes incredible recommendations, is so incredibly knowledgeable about the business side of being in practice, which is often overlooked with a lot of the consultants and people that we work with because they're so focused on, the things that it takes to really be a chiropractor. And they're both equally important. Sometimes we focus mostly on patient care and operations and we forget about all of that other stuff. But anyway, and he's a tech genius. Did I mention that? Oh my gosh, he's just amazing. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking and turn it over to my friend, Dr. Jay Greenstein.
Well, thank you, Christy. That was like the world's best introduction. I was gonna say I should record it, but like it is recorded, so I can use that at some other point in time. So always great to be here. And thank you so much for allowing me to really connect with, your audience and the ChiroHealthUSA family. So today, the title of today's webinar is Taking Your Practice Mobile to Make Your Impact Global. And, Christy mentioned it earlier, she talked about kind of this idea around, the importance of focusing on the business as well as focusing on clinical care as well. And the great thing about us as chiropractic entrepreneurs is that we actually can do both. And so today's discussion is really going to be around how can we create greater impact for our patients? And how can we also create greater impact for ourselves as business owners, as entrepreneurs? Speaking of entrepreneurs, I've had the great pleasure of meeting some of the world's most famous entrepreneurs and marketing experts. Gary Vaynerchuk, most of you probably have heard his name, if not seen all of his blog posts and Instagram posts. Seth Godin is probably the godfather of marketing, does amazing work. They've both written fantastic books. And there's a common theme from these Uber entrepreneurs that I've learned from. And the common theme really is the idea of empathy. It's the idea of really making sure that whoever is designing a product or a service for a user really understands the user's needs and how to meet those needs. And also identifies, and this is really important, also identifies the needs that the user doesn't even know they have. And I think, Apple's a great example of that. The universe didn't really realize that they needed an iPhone until they had an iPhone in their hand. And then all of a sudden, smartphones became the rage. So for us as chiropractors, designing care plans for our patients, for the users, and really understanding what their world is like and what they need and what their goals are is really critically important to getting better outcomes and also critically important to building a really strong, growing practice. And so when it comes down to it, it's really about meeting people where they are, understanding, again, what their needs are, being empathetic, having a human-centered design approach, and really trying to understand what people need and how we can best deliver what they need to them. And so when we think about like where people are these days, the first thing that comes to my mind is mobile. So did you know that nearly 80% of internet usage is expected to have been mobile in 2018? The data hasn't fully been released yet, but nearly 80% of internet usage expected to be mobile by last year. 40% of people search only on a smartphone. I mean, like, that's mind-blowing to me. Like, 40% of people search only on a smartphone. They don't do any searches on their computers. And then lastly, did you know that mobile apps have a higher engagement rate than mobile optimized websites or desktop web viewing? So we are in a mobile world, and we are in a mobile apps world even more specifically. And so that's where people are. So in my travels and my opportunities to be able to speak across the country, I've garnered a lot of information from not just people who are in the audience, but people who I consult with, chiropractors that I consult with across the country. And there are consistent themes around challenges in chiropractic practices. So unfortunately, I didn't have time to set up the polls today. I wish I could have, because that's really always fun and engaging. But if you were to think, right now of your own top 3 challenges, I would bet at least one of the 3 that I'm going to list is on your list. And these are the themes that I hear consistently, again, when speaking and consulting. And they are new patient acquisition, care plan adherence, and staff engagement. So everybody's always looking to help more patients, gain more new patients, capture greater market share. They're always looking for ways to help patients adhere to their care plans, patients to stick to their plans, because we as chiropractors, at the end of the day, we do what we do. Our heart is in this because we want people to get well. And when patients don't adhere to their care plans, they don't get well. And so, care plan adherence is something that I hear about all the time. And it's something that we deal with in our practice, and I'm going to show you some data around that in just a little bit. And then, of course, staff. I mean, we're human beings, and because there's human involvement, there's human variability. And so that can be a real challenge for any leader. And so how do we engage our staff in ways that really drive results for the business, that drive staff and patient satisfaction? So those are the 3 challenges that I hear about literally all the time. Now, we may think as chiropractors, we're unique to these challenges, but I can promise you we are not unique. So I listed out the top 10 companies on the Fortune 500 list. So you've got Walmart, ExxonMobil, Apple, Berkshire Hathaway, Amazon, who I'll talk about in just a little bit. You've got others like CVS Health, which actually is part of Aetna. So CVS and Aetna merged. And so now that's one organization. So these are organizations that have very, very similar goals and challenges. What do they want? They want new customers. They always want new customers. They're always looking for more new customers. They're looking for greater lifetime value. They're looking to keep their customers engaged. They're looking for the upsell. They're looking for the other sell. They're looking for ways to improve lifetime value of that client. And lastly, they're always looking to improve employee engagement. What we know from the surveys and really good science out there is that only 3 out of 10 employees, 30% of employees, are actually engaged in their roles. And what we also know from the science, and this is well documented in the human behavior science and in the patient satisfaction science, is that patient satisfaction is directly correlated. There's a direct statistical correlation between patient satisfaction and employee satisfaction. So employee engagement, and for us, our staff engagement, is really, really important because that ultimately drives better results for our patients. So imagine if mobile technology did the work for you and acquired new patients for your practice. Imagine if mobile technology increased care plan adherence, thus improving outcomes and bottom line results. And then imagine if mobile technology eliminated mundane processes for your staff to improve their engagement. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story because I think it ties to how I got to this place today doing this webinar. So in 1994, I started my practice. I graduated chiropractic school in 1992, and in 1993, I went to work for a really great guy, well-known sports chiropractor, a guy by the name of Jan Corwin. And he was actually the Olympic team chiropractor for the 1988 Seoul Olympics. I worked with Jan for a year and got some great experience, met some great friends. Actually met Tom Hyde. Many of you out there know who Dr. Tom Hyde is. One of the world's most famous and well-respected chiropractors. Met Tom and then came back to DC to start my own practice. Now, in 1994, it was a lot different than it is today. I mean, in 1994, Pulp Fiction was released. The show Friends came out. Now it's on syndication. Some of you folks never really saw the actual airing of Friends when it aired back in the day. It was the OJ trial back in 1994, and Nelson Mandela was the first African-American president voted in South Africa. Also, a big year for technology because that was the year that Amazon was created. Now, the ironic thing about Amazon is that it was number 5 that you just saw on the Fortune 500 list, but I'll never forget, because I've always been keeping up with technology through the years, I'll never forget seeing magazine cover after magazine cover really bashing Jeff Bezos and talking about what a moron he was and how he's never going to make Amazon work. And I think it's pretty safe to say he proved all of the critics wrong. So it's been 25 years that I've been in practice, and it's been quite the ride. And I think when we think about what it's been like, I want to break it down for you in some simple numbers. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So over the last 25 years, I've had 5 chiropractic rehab practices in the DC metro region. I've got 3 in Maryland and 2 in Virginia. We've had 4 divisions of our company. So we've got a clinical division, the 5 practices I just mentioned. We've got a fitness division. So it's a cash business where patients move from rehab to wellness, from rehab to fitness. So personal training, online training, group training, all kinds of wellness activities that keep people healthier and happier. We have a clinical research institute. It's a charitable 501c3. And I've been involved in chiropractic research since I was in chiropractic school. So this is something that's near and dear to my heart. There's been a lot of investment that's gone into building and running our research institute. And then lastly, we just created a new startup in technology. Now, it hasn't always been, perfect. We've had some amazing years. We've had amazing decades for that matter, but through growth comes risk. And so for number 3, we've almost gone bankrupt 3 times. And sometimes growth is a great thing, and sometimes growth can be a very challenging thing. Thank goodness we've learned from those times when we've grown super rapidly. And each time was a little bit different. One was external growth, one was internal growth, and one was a combination of the two. And then learning from those experiences really has helped position our business and our companies to be significantly stronger. So for 2, we were twice voted into Inc. magazine's fastest growing companies. And we've had 1 major company rebuild and rebrand. And our mission is very, very clear: inspiring and empowering a healthier, happier world. So for many years, our company name, our company brand was Sport and Spine Rehab. And for a variety of reasons, one of them being the actual name itself, telling people what we did, we decided that we needed to really change our name. There are so many people out there, so many practices out there that have sport or spine, or rehab in their name. And so we felt like we needed to really differentiate ourselves because we felt like, we were pretty different in how we approached what we do. So this 1 major rebrand that we just got mainly completed, it'll be done completely at the end of the year, is now Kaizo Health. Our company name is now Kaizo. So it's Kaizo Health for our chiropractic practices, Kaizo CRI, or Clinical Research Institute, for our nonprofit, and Kaizo X for our fitness division. And I think what really rings true for us as it relates to our brand is our tagline, which is rethink, rebuild, restart. And when we went through this rebrand, it really wasn't just like a rebrand. It was like we really rethought our business, and we really rebuilt our business, and we really are restarting a new era in how we approach patient care. And I think it's critically important that we all rethink about how we're considering care and technology in today's world, because technology is advancing healthcare at an exponential rate. And my goal for you, for all of you out there, is to be able to understand technology so that you can leverage it to create stronger practices and better outcomes for your patients. By the way, the name Kaizo is actually the Japanese word for rebuild or reconstruct. And in the gaming world, it's known as a hack, or pushing the limits of human potential. And that really is who we are. It's Sport and Spine Rehab described what we did, but Kaiser really describes who we are. It is our brand identity, and it's really been an amazing thing. And so again, when it came to rethinking and rebuilding and restarting our organization, care plan adherence was something that we really wanted to focus a lot of attention on. Now, we've always been a data-driven company. We've always really focused on the data because data is knowledge and knowledge is power. And we've got literally, I don't even know how many data points that are running across all of our emails, all of our desktops, all of our laptops, all of our phones, every single day, every single week, every single month, and every single quarter. And one of the things that we focus a lot of our attention on is what we call self-discharges and comparing self-discharges to doctor discharges. And you can see here in the orange, each week, each month, for each clinic that we have, we compare the number of doctor discharges to self-discharges. Now, some months it's really, really good. And some months it's not so good, where we need to make improvements. We need to understand, why people are self-discharging as compared to doctor discharging. Now, we collect that data as well. This comes right from our electronic health record system, right from Genesis, which is the cloud-based EHR system that we use. Every single week, we record our doctor discharges and our self-discharges. And, it's interesting. We have about 5 or 6 categories that we list out. We list out unknown, never able to get in touch with the patient again. They fell off the face of the earth. They never want to talk to us again. Who knows? We don't know what happened with that patient. Feeling better is the most common known reason why patients stop coming to the practice. And I'm sure all of us experience this. And again, this is well documented in the literature, where patients and physicians stop treating a problem when the pain goes away. And that's because, they figure, oh, I'm better, but they're not really better. Maybe they feel better, but functionally they're not better. Another common theme is financial. It just costs too much, or they've spent too much money. To me, that's a value issue. They're not seeing the value in the services that are being provided. And maybe part of that is because they feel well enough to go back to doing whatever they were doing in their lives. Another common reason is either work or distance. And that ties again to time. So when somebody is really, really hurting, you know what? They'll drive the extra 10 minutes, or they'll leave work early to get treated because, obviously the pain is really interfering with their lives. But as they start to improve and feel better, it's easy just to say, you know what? I don't have time for this week. I'm going to skip my appointment. I'm feeling better. Maybe I'll do my home exercises, when I go home. Maybe I'll go to the gym. But I think I'm going to skip today's appointment, or maybe I'm going to cancel, my remaining 3 appointments because, I'm pretty good right now. So those are the common self-discharge reasons. And again, we all probably see them in our practices very, very similarly. But the good news is that for us as chiropractors, the number one reason by far is typically feeling better. So, okay, that's great. So they feel better. Wonderful. So now I'm going to bring you into my brain for a little bit and my concerns around, folks feeling better and then self-discharging, because here is my biggest fear. Patient says, yeah, I feel better. I'm good. I don't need to come anymore. You know what? I think, if I need anything, I'll call you guys, but I'm going to cancel my last 3 appointments. Okay. So what happens with these patients? They probably stop doing their home exercises. They're not really doing the things that are probably necessary to keep them engaged in their healthcare. They're certainly not coming in and getting adjusted and treated. They're not doing their rehab. They're not getting their soft tissue. What do you think is going to happen to these patients? Well, we know, again, from the evidence, these patients are more likely to have a recurrence of their symptoms. Their back pain comes back, their neck pain comes back, their knee pain comes back. Whatever it was that we were treating, it returns. And so when they're having conversations with their friends and their friends are like, hey, my back hurts, should I go see your chiropractor? The individual turns and says, nah, you know what? My chiropractor didn't really help me because my pain came back within a few months. Now, there's no disclosure around patient adherence. There's no disclosure around a patient self-discharging. There's no disclosure around patients not doing their home exercises. It's that, nah, my chiropractor didn't really help me. And an even bigger fear for me is when they go back to their primary care physician and they're complaining of their back pain again. And the doctor says, hey, Susie, so, what happened? How did it go? I referred you to these great chiropractors. What happened? Nah, you know what, doc? It didn't really help me. It worked for a little bit. It helped me with my pain a little bit. but then the pain came back. Now, how many physicians do you think have heard that story? How many physicians out there, medical physicians, have heard from their patients that chiropractic helped them temporarily, but didn't get a long-term solution? And that's many times because patients don't adhere to their care plans. They don't finish what they started. And that's incredibly frustrating for me because at the end of the day, I think like it's really important to protect our brand. And we know from the evidence, and this is a paper that was published in 2014 in the International Journal of Sports Physical Therapy. This looked at lower extremity injuries. The most accurate predictor of lower extremity injuries, past injuries. The most accurate predictor of low back pain and neck pain, past low back pain and neck pain. And so we know from the literature that these patients are predisposed to having these problems if they don't have a long-term functional outcome that we deliver through comprehensive chiropractic care. So for me, again, it's about really being able to protect our brand. Here's what we know from Gallup. Now, Gallup has run 2 studies. Palmer College of Chiropractic has spent millions of dollars funding these studies. The last one was a 2017 study that looked at American views of prescription pain medication and chiropractic care. And this was extremely timely because obviously the opioid crisis was just getting a lot of press and publicity. And so this was an extremely timely publication and study. What do Americans say about their experience with chiropractic and why they've seen them or why they haven't gone back to see them? So the number one reason why a patient who has seen a chiropractor previously but has not returned in 12 months is because the chiropractic care they received was effective and they no longer needed it. That's 35% of the people that had seen a chiropractor in the last 12 months. That had not seen a chiropractor in the last 12 months. They'd seen a chiropractor previously, but not in the last 12 months. They say, you know what? I'm better. Okay, great. The number 2 answer was that chiropractic care was not effective for addressing my health issues. That was 1 out of 5 patients, guys. 1 out of 5 patients said chiropractic care wasn't effective. Now, to me, that's a really scary number because I don't know that we experience that in our practices. But yet, out of 2,472 people, a large sample size, 1 out of 5 said, didn't help me. Now, maybe it was that the chiropractic services didn't match up what the patient needed. Maybe it wasn't comprehensive care because we know that more comprehensive care, multimodal approaches to care, rehab, soft tissue, and chiropractic gets better outcomes than just straight manipulation. Sorry, guys. Those are the facts. That's just how it is. So maybe they just didn't receive the appropriate type of care. Maybe they did receive the appropriate type of care, but didn't stick with care long enough because guess what the next 3 answers are? The next 3 answers are chiropractic care requires too many visits. So maybe people stopped going too soon. Adherence was not at 100%. I do not have adequate insurance coverage for chiropractic care. That's both a visit thing and a financial thing. And look at number 5, chiropractic care is too expensive. So all of these elements, too many visits, not enough coverage for chiropractic, too expensive, all of those things tie to adherence. Excuse me. And again, adherence can ultimately affect these patients that are not getting adequate results, not getting positive outcomes through chiropractic care. So to me, adherence is a really, really important thing. And again, I'm looking at my own data too. I'm like, how do we eliminate self-discharges? I know we'll never eliminate it completely, but can we do better? Like, can we do better than where we are right now? And so I think about this for our practice and I think about this for our profession. So again, the name of the game is adherence. And by the way, this is a really important point. Notice I didn't use the word compliance because compliance implies that I am telling somebody what to do as it relates to their care plan. Adherence is shared decision-making. And again, as a researcher, we know that adherence and shared decision-making drives better results. Nobody wants to be told what to do. If you're telling somebody what to do straight up, the likelihood of them following up and following through is not nearly as good as if there's shared decision-making. You explain why they need what they need. You tie it to their goal plans. Again, you've got that empathy piece built in. It's human-centered design. It's around their goals, their needs. You have appropriate communication around what they need. And then they get to give you feedback around how the care plan that you're prescribing for them fits into their goals and their lives and their lifestyle. And so I just want you to think about that as you give a report of findings. The next report of findings that you give, or how you give report of findings moving forward, think about shared decision making. Maybe it's a patient contract. Maybe there's ways that you can communicate with patients to get them to commit to their care in an even better way. But it's all about adherence, not compliance. So again, okay, chiropractic care was effective for 35%. Wonderful. We just want to make sure that people who feel better, that answer positively in that question, are not made up of a subgroup of self-discharges because they feel better. Not effective. Okay, it's not effective, or too many visits, or inadequate coverage, or too expensive. Again, I'm going back to adherence and self-discharges. Maybe it's because they didn't complete the recommended treatment plan. And again, these are fears as a practice owner, but also as a guy who wants to make sure that we get the best results for our patients. I mean, we became chiropractors to help people. Like, that's why we did it. That's why we do it. And I think, for me at least, there's nothing worse than not being able to finish what I start. I always want to make sure that I can get that patient to the finish line. And if I can't, it's incredibly frustrating for me. And I know all my doctors as well. So I've said this a few times earlier, and I'll reiterate it again. Like, this is about protecting your brand, and it's about protecting our brand in chiropractic. So think about that 20% of folks that went to the chiropractor and said, it wasn't effective. How many of those 1 out of 5 people say also to their friends, their family members, their colleagues, yeah, I went, it wasn't effective, and I don't believe in chiropractic? That makes me absolutely nutty. Like, chiropractic is not a belief system. It's not a religion. It's an evidence-based profession. If your toilet's clogged up and you call a plumber and the plumber does a lousy job and 2 days later your toilet clogs again, well, is it that you don't believe in plumbing? No, it's just that you had a lousy plumber. Nobody goes around saying like, oh, I don't believe in plumbing. And for some reason, and I think there's, we would need a sociologist to study this, but for some reason, and maybe it's, the AMA campaign against us, the Committee on Quackery way back in the day that has kind of influenced how Americans and how people in general view chiropractic. But, we're not a belief system. And so when people don't get better, it fuels the notion. It fuels the notion that chiropractic, people don't believe in it. Chiropractic doesn't work because people don't believe in it. And I think we know that from the evidence we get at least as good, if not better outcomes than the medical community. We need to protect our brand. And part of that is driving adherence. One of those key variables that we want to control with our patients is to make sure they finish what they start. Because when they finish what they start, they're going to get a better outcome. And by the way, that's not an opinion. That's an evidence-based statement. So when you look at adherence and you look at better outcomes for patients, you also want to look at the bottom line. What does it mean for your practice? So if our patients came in just one more time of a prescribed treatment plan before self-discharging, how much more would that contribute to the bottom line? Now, we asked that question. We asked that question in our own business. And again, as we were kind of rebuilding and rethinking our business, we decided, okay, what we need to do is we need to look at the number of people who self-discharge between visit 1, and visit 12. And if our patients came just one more visit, now this is prescribed, not some sort of extra fluffy visit. This is a necessary prescribed visit. If our patients came just one more visit between visit 1 and visit 12, it would add $400,000 to the bottom line. And that was a very simple calculation, because all we did is we looked at the average dollar amount that we're paid per visit. We multiply it times all the visits that we see in a year, and that is our annual return on investment. And so it's a very simple mathematical calculation. $400,000 if every single patient who discharged between visit 1 and visit 12 came just one more time. Now, when you think about a care plan that's prescribed and you look at Clinical Compass's guidelines for treatment frequency and duration, a care plan between 12 and 24 visits is very reasonable. Certainly for a chronic condition, very reasonable, and for most acute conditions as well. And so, we wanted to look at this from both the clinical and business perspective and said, okay, realistically, if our patients come in somewhere between 1 and 12 visits, let's just see what that looks like. And the number obviously is significant. Now, I've been very fortunate to live in a world of both chiropractic and entrepreneurship. And the space of entrepreneurship that I really appreciate and I spend a lot of time in is in technology. And I attend a lot of technology conferences. And unfortunately, and I hope this changes over time, we need to work to make it change over time. Many times I'm the only chiropractor in the audience. And so, I feel like we have this great opportunity. I know that we have this great opportunity to leverage technology to improve outcomes, to improve population health, and also to improve our businesses. And I've had that experience in my own business. And so my hypothesis, or our hypothesis, my team's hypothesis was, you know what? What if we created technology that actually improved patient adherence? What could we create? Where could we meet people where they are? And I don't know if you guys can see me on video, but like, they're right here. They're on their phone, people. This is where they are. This is where we're going to meet them. We're going to meet them on their phones. We're going to create a mobile app that is going to help people adhere to their care plan. And by the way, when we think about what we do as a business, as it relates to improving adherence, it's about behavior change. This is about understanding human behavior and creating behavior change. So I said to my research team, let's research this. What does this look like? What could this look like? And so when we think about what the evidence is around the use of mobile apps, well, this is what the evidence says. So again, this was a systematic review of many studies that evaluated phone apps, mobile phone apps influencing people's health behavior change. Again, we're in the business of behavioral change. And their conclusion was the widespread adoption of mobile phones highlights a significant opportunity to impact health behaviors globally. Now, you remember the title of this presentation is like, take your practice mobile so that you can impact globally. Like, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about global impact here. And again, even our mission statement is inspiring, empowering a healthier, happier world. This is my core belief. And I know that we can do this through the use of technology. Another great study, translational behavioral medicine, behavior change, the impact of mobile applications on medication adherence, a systematic review. And most of you guys know this, but I'll say it for the sake of completeness. Systematic reviews are aggregations of high quality studies, randomized control clinical trials. And so for this particular publication that was just literally published in August of 2019, 11 RCTs, all the ones that they reviewed, showed improvement in adherence with the use of mobile applications. Now, if mobile applications can improve medication adherence, it can improve adherence across the board. And then this other study, 27 studies in a systematic review, the use of mobile apps and SMS messaging as physical and mental health interventions, a systematic review, they concluded that the review shows the promising and emerging efficacy of using mobile apps and SMS text messaging as mobile health interventions. So the literature is strong. We know that mobile apps can improve adherence, and adherence improves outcomes. That's a fact. We don't have any doubt about that. There's enough evidence and enough literature to support that. And I will tell you, there's a lot of business out there that sell a bunch of stuff, and there's no evidence behind it at all. Clinical products, business products, technology products. So when we were looking at this as a way to improve our business, as a way to improve our practice, we had to make sure there was evidence behind this hypothesis because, quite frankly, the investment that we were making was substantial. We also looked at what I would call the competition. Who are the big boys out there that are playing in a world that we can kind of look at from afar and also learn from afar. And I would use CVS and Aetna as a piece of competition because patients make decisions every day whether or not they're going to take a functional approach to their pain or they're going to take a pharmacologic approach to their pain. And CVS's goal for sure is to sell more drugs. And Aetna's goal is for sure to reduce access to chiropractic care. That's a whole nother story. We can talk about that on another webinar. But our goal is to fix patients functionally. And so I look at them, they're competing for market share just like we are. And so what are the big boys doing? What are these billion-dollar, number 8 on the Fortune 500 list? What are they doing? Well, guess what they're doing, guys? They're building a mobile app. They built a mobile app for medication adherence. I mean, look at the title. Here's how CVS is using technology to grow their healthcare service, to epic proportions. So again, part of the research that we did is learning what else was out there so that when we rolled it out in our company that we were going to have a positive result. And here's what their data showed. Their data shows that our prescription or their prescription benefit management members who are using Script Sync mobile app, which is their mobile app, have improved their adherence anywhere from 6% to 10%. And statistics show that if the national adherence rate was increased by just 1 percentage point, it would generate $6 billion of healthcare savings a year. So let's take that first paragraph, and I want you to think for a second. Like, for me, I'm like, holy cow, like if I could improve my adherence and reduce my self-discharge rate by 10%, like that would be significant, both for patients and the business. And then think about this from a public health perspective. Like if patients actually adhere to their care plans and they did not have recurring pain, or they did not have acute pain that converted to chronic pain because they actually stuck to their care plan, how much money would we save the system? We'd have less imaging, we'd have less drugs, less injections, less opioids, less doctor visits. We would save literally billions of dollars. And so there's a public health impact for this technology as well. So again, we're kind of digging away here. We're digging away. We're looking at this. We're like, should we make this investment? Does the data kind of prove our hypothesis before we build this? And so then we looked at other companies that really have outstanding track records as business. Now, this company you may have never heard of, Click Software. This is Claudine Bianchi. She's the Chief Marketing Officer of Click. In case you've never heard of Click, they were just recently acquired by Salesforce for $1.35 billion. And Salesforce, by the way, is a behemoth in the tech world. They're worth over $113 billion. By the way, side note, we use Salesforce in our organization. We use them as what's called a customer relationship management platform. And we use a lot of technology in our business, which is why developing technology was so appealing to us, to see if we could make this work to improve our patients' experiences and outcomes. So here's what Claudine said. Consumers have been conditioned to expect an exceptional customer service experience every time. And it's the difference between retaining, i.e. adherence, retaining a customer, or losing them to the competition. Customer service becomes customer experience. At the center of improved customer experience is the basic task of getting to know the customer in order to identify their expectations. Empathy, right? We just talked about that earlier. Technology is transforming customer experience. Every single customer interaction is a means for disruption and a differentiator versus the competition. So I'm like, how are we going to compete against CVS and Aetna? We need to have something that differentiates us as compared to what they're doing. With all the innovative ways to adapt from traditional outdated service strategies to modern and customer-centric processes, there's no excuse for anything less than an exceptional customer experience. The proliferation of mobile provides endless benefits. Today, a leader without technology is like a fisherman without a rod. So again, moving the needle more towards, okay, we must develop this platform. So then we did a little homework on, okay, well, what's this puppy going to cost us? And what we found through a company called Formotus, which has a lot of data on what it takes to build mobile apps, the surveys that they ran surveying these mobile app development companies is that the average mobile app costs anywhere between $100,000 and $500,000 to develop. And the average price was about $270,000. And so here's what we thought about. We thought, well, if we had to spend $270,000, but we could make $400,000, assuming that we could improve adherence, we could improve by one visit, would that be a worthwhile investment? Would I spend $27 to make $40,000? Probably. It's not a 2x return on investment, but it's still an ROI. So we went forward and we said, guess what? We're going to create a technology company and we are going to build our first mobile app. So we built it, and where we focused our attention, again, we were focused on behavior change. And where we focused our attention was really around the rewards piece, how we reward people for good behavior, for adhering to their care plan, and also allowing patients to track their journey. Because another complaint that I hear from patients, because we do human-centered design surveys, we do focus groups, we do a lot of surveying of our patients, is that patients don't know where they are in care. They have no idea where they are in their care plan. They're prescribed a certain number of visits, but they really don't know, am I at the beginning, the middle, at the end? Is there 3 stages, 5 stages, 2 stages? Where am I? And so we wanted to make sure we mapped that out for the patients, and that every time a patient actually made it into our practice, they moved closer and closer to the rewards. Now, we are compliance freaks, and I say this on the ChiroHealthUSA platform because ChiroHealthUSA is all about compliance. The OIG has very, very specific rules about the level of rewards that you can give a patient. No cash or no cash-like gifts can be given. However, you can give a gift for $15 or less per item, and you can only give up to $75 a year. So when we give a reward to our patient for adhering to their care plan at the end of their care plan, guess what? It's $15. It's not a big deal, but it's something that they really, really enjoy. And also, we celebrate it. We make a big deal out of it in the clinic. So we went back and we looked at the data. So what did it look like for the first 90 days of our patients downloading the app? So we had 510 people who actually downloaded the app, and we had 453 people during that same period of time that had not downloaded the app. And one of the great things about our electronic health records practice management system, Genesis, is that we can pretty much pull any data point out of the system that we need as it relates to this type of information. Because again, we're a very data-driven organization. So at the end of the day, when we looked at the data, the patients who downloaded the app had a 36% increase in visit adherence. Now remember that the CVS Aetna app, and they're a $1 billion company, the CVS Aetna app had somewhere of an increase between 6 and 10%. And we basically 6x that. We beat that by by 6x. And so we actually, when we looked at the data, truth be told, we had no idea how it was going to turn out. We didn't know if it was going to be better, the same, worse. But when we saw these results, we were, happy and kind of blown away, and really felt like this was something that, first of all, that we needed to publish. And so this will be published in some peer-reviewed journal, most likely a technology journal, but a technology and healthcare journal. But we thought about okay, well, what would this mean if we were able to help others do the same? And then we went back and we started looking at the data. And what we found is that the number one tile that people used, and this is our dashboard that we created, the number one tile that people used was the rewards tile. So 18% was the greatest percentage of time that people were using the app. They were on the rewards. They were motivated by rewards. And by the way, the second most common piece of this was people engaging in their home exercise plan. And we know home exercise adherence is also typically not very good. But that was the second most used tile in the app. What's really cool is that the downloads just continue to go up. I mean, it is mind-blowing. We've got over 1,500 users in less than a year using this app. And it's just insane how fast it's growing. So maybe a question that you might be asking yourself right now is okay, what's my annual revenue? And what would it look like if I were to increase my adherence by 36%? What would that math look like if I could improve that number dramatically? So again, when we test the hypothesis, we didn't know what to expect. And what we got was what we thought might happen, but we weren't sure. We were happy it did. But there were a couple other things that happened as well that was more like the icing on the cake. And again, we went back and we looked at the data, and one of the tiles that's used is the assessment tile. And we know that the assessment tile is being used frequently because 15 to 22% of our app downloads are occurring outside of our practice. So what's happening? Well, we think, and it's a pretty good assumption, it's an educated assumption, that patients are literally taking their phones. Somebody says, hey, my back hurts, and they're taking their phones and be like, oh, you should download the ChiroHealth app. Why don't you, go to this link, go to the App Store, go to the Google Play Store, download the app. Once they download the app, they have an opportunity to take an assessment. Now, what we did is we built out a clinical algorithm in our app where patients can fill out a variety of questions. Those questions then yield a specific set of responses. In most of the situations, the responses are, we're going to give you a home exercise program. We've got videos that are built into the system. So that if they have neck pain and they've got pain that's, worse with extension or better with flexion, we might give them a trapezius stretch. We give them a series of very, very basic stretches that they can do. By the way, there is a disclaimer in the app. All of our lawyers looked at all this, and we've got all the disclaimers that we need. So nobody gets sued, but it gives them something that they can do to empower them to really work on their pain. But in certain situations, the app, the algorithm will tell them, hey, by the way, your pain is pretty severe. We recommend that you make an appointment for a healthcare provider. So when they make an appointment on our app to a healthcare provider, who do you think that's going to be? Well, it actually turned out that it's us. We had literally no idea that this was going to happen because our focus was purely on adherence. We had no idea this was going to happen, but we are averaging now about 5 new patients a month from the app, and we're not doing anything. Like, people are just downloading the app and new patients are coming through our door. And in fact, just recently we had our best 2-week period in the history of the app. We had seven new patients download the app and then request an appointment and get scheduled as a new patient. So this is it was mind blowing to us. So we've addressed care plan adherence, we've addressed new patients, but what about the staff engagement piece? Well, again, one of the elements that we wanted to build into the app was scheduling. Patients schedule, reschedule all the time. So the ability for patients to not have to call, to not have to open up their email, just to be on their phone, click on the app, and schedule or reschedule an appointment was a really important feature. Plus, it saves your staff a ton of time. They can also refer a friend just directly from the app. Again, if they know somebody that's having low back pain, they can actually send a link to the app to their friend's email, and it goes right into their inbox. And then things like Google reviews, where a lot of times the staff is asking patients for Google reviews and checking in on Facebook. We've built out all of that functionality into the app. So, we've addressed those issues of new patients, certainly adherence, and then really trying to improve the staff experience. So as we have gone through this process of experimenting, researching, delivering data in our own practice, I think about our mission of inspiring and empowering a healthier, happier world. And really what's happened is that as I've been teaching this at conferences that I go to, by the way, this was a really fun conference. I spoke at FCA National. It's the largest chiropractic conference on the planet. And we had a whole technology track that we taught. And as I teach at these conferences around the country and around the world, and I teach people about the technology that we implement. And by the way, at those conferences, I'm teaching about the clinical technology that we implement, how we use the electronic health records technology, all kinds of technology, not just the app. But people invariably will come up to me like, "Hey, I love your app. Like, how do we get this?" And so I had I had many conversations with our research team, Jenna and John, like, how do we do this? Like, can we actually help other chiropractors get this done? And can we really help chiropractors be entrepreneurs where they understand the future of healthcare, where they're leveraging technology to improve results for their business, but also leveraging technology to improve outcomes globally for patients? Like, imagine 70,000 chiropractors on this planet leveraging mobile technology. I shouldn't say on this planet, it's just in the US. There's more around the world, but leveraging technology to actually move the needle for adherence and what that looks like for improving healthcare outcomes across the globe. Like, what does that look like? Like, what does that data look like? And so, like, as you probably can tell, like, I'm super passionate about that. Like, I want that to be done. Like, I want to make that happen. And so, I talked to my team, like, how do we do that and not charge people $267,000 for an app? Well, I'm pretty fortunate because my team is brilliant. In fact, our principal technology engineer, John, we call him the wizard. Jenna is our director of research and innovation, and she leads the team, and it's an amazing team. And they figured out a way to make it happen, building out proprietary technology that allows us to scale this and help chiropractors do the same thing that we're doing in helping people change the game. And so our goal is to help people attract new patients, certainly improve we use the word compliance here, but it's really their adherence, but also building a community around their practice. And when I think about community and I think about how we do this, for me, it's more than just, okay, let's help people with an app. It's like, let's create a worldwide community of tech trailblazers. Let's work together as a team to really move the needle. Let's be at the leading edge of how we leverage technology ahead of any healthcare profession to drive better outcomes for patients. And ultimately, at the end of the day, when you give that kind of value to the system, just like good old-fashioned karma, those rewards come back to you exponentially. So it's really a journey with a group of like-minded tech trailblazers. Now, we've started this company, and now we're building out mobile apps for doctors of chiropractic around the country. And it's been incredibly rewarding to see not just, the expression on people's faces when they see our app, but even more so the feedback that we're getting from them when they have their own app, when they've customized it and they've made it their own. And so again, the goal here is just to make you aware of the technology that exists. There's not going to be this whole long sales pitch. I want to make you aware of the technology, whether it's us or you use some other technology to improve adherence, that's completely up to you. But I just want to make you all aware of what we have. And being a ChiroHealthUSA member and also having a very great, fantastic relationship with Dr. Foxworth and Christy and all the other great people at ChiroHealthUSA, my tech team and I have decided that we are going to provide a massive discount for you today. So our standard pricing, and you can see this on our Kaizenovate website, we have two pricing models. One is $1,999 development fee and $199 a month, or you can pay $399 a month, which actually ends up being a bit more expensive over the first year. And then at the second year, you move down to $199 a month. Now that's our standard pricing, but for today, we're going to give you a 55% discount, a 55% discount on the development fee, which is $899. That's $899 off of the $19.99, and then a 50% discount on the monthly fee at $99 a month. Or if you decide to go with option B, which again is a little bit more expensive throughout the first year, because then the second year you would get it at $99 a month. It's a little bit more, but if you decide that you want to go down that road, it's a 50% discount as well. So those are our pricing models. That's what we have available to everybody. And we just wanted you to know, like, we're here for you and we're here to support you in your success and your ability to help your patients adhere to their care plans, ultimately leading to their healthcare success as well. So the link is something that Christy can share with you. I don't know that I have it, but Christy, can you share that link? Because you may be able to do it. But that's the link. And again, this offer is available until 12 noon. It's available until 11:59 tonight. So I hope that was helpful, and we hope that we can help all of you in reaching your goals. Lastly, just as it relates to return on investment, if you went with the 1-year investment, you pay the $899 down, and you spend $99 a month, that's a total cost of less than $2,000. If your average revenue per visit is $50, and you divide $50 into $1,988, if you add just 40 more visits a year, which is just over 3 more visits a month, you've actually made that money back. But I can promise you that not only will you get a lot more than 40 visits for the entire year by using this technology and changing the behaviors of your patients, but I can promise you you're going to get new patients as well. And so that's our promise to you. At any rate, again, that's the offer. We're happy to help any way we can. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me at drjay@kaizenovate.com, KAIZENOVATE.com. And I hope you found this presentation, educational, understanding what's happening with technology, the research behind technology, the research behind behavior change, and hopefully your ability to leverage either our technology or any technology to improve outcomes for your business, as well as outcomes for your patients.
Thank you, Dr. J.
Thank you, Christy.
We do have a couple of questions.
Okay, great.
So the first one is, how long does it take to build a customized app? And I have to tell y'all, I love it so much. Like, I have ours on my phone. Can't see it really well.
So okay. we have a 30-day cycle. Everything is planned out so that we get this app built within 30 days.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to say it didn't take long for ours.
So Gay reached out. I just want to thank Gay. She said, thank you very much. Great presentation. It looks like a wonderful product. Gay, thank you. Really appreciate that comment. I appreciate the shout out.
Is it fully customizable?
The app is fully customizable to a point. Like, we might not be able to order your Rolls Royce on the app, but for the most part, anything that we can connect the app to a website is customizable.
Let's see. Can I get it to connect to my scheduling system? Great
question. So yes, the app can connect to your scheduling system as long as there is a cloud-based patient portal. If not, we can connect to your website where they can schedule through your website as well. And most of the large companies, like certainly ChiroTouch. I know they have a patient portal. Genesis has a patient portal. Not really sure about Eclipse, but we can find that out for you for sure.
Absolutely. That's my favorite feature of the app.
Yeah, it's a great function because again, it eliminates the hassle of your staff having to do it.
I completely agree. And I would always forget to call and make an appointment. So it's so much easier to pick up my phone and do it. So this question is phenomenal. How do you get your patients to download and use it?
That is an excellent question. So we have a whole implementation strategy that we built out for our team because we know, again, related to behavior change, you can throw something at your staff, but if you don't explain the why and give them the process, they're not going to implement. And so we wrote out an implementation strategy, and then through the process of human-centered design and getting feedback from our staff, we continued to tweak it until we figured out ways where we engaged our patients in ways where they would download the app. So we've essentially gamified it. We've created a game around patients downloading the app and ultimately getting a reward for downloading the app as well. And again, in the spirit of human behavior change and psychology, it's worked extremely well. And so for all of our customers, we have a built out, it's a manual. That is literally a step-by-step approach for implementation. We've thought of like literally everything for the people that want to use and buy the app, our current and future customers, because we had to think about it for our own business. Because we really built it for ourselves originally. We had no thoughts of like, oh, we're going to scale this to the universe. So we had to build it for ourselves to make sure that it was successful first.
So our next question is there any other technology that you're developing?
Yes, there is. We are working on some clinical apps as well. We are very focused on spine care. We are focused on other areas of health and wellness that are emerging. And so can't really get into too many details, but we built this technology startup to scale positive change for healthcare. And this is the first of many technologies that we foresee in the near and far future.
Very cool. And I know I mentioned this, that you're really passionate about research. And since we have a few minutes and not any more questions, I just wanted to add that Dr. J is the current chairman for the Clinical Compass, which is an incredible organization that unfortunately not enough chiropractors know about. So can you take a minute to kind of explain to them what y'all do?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks, Christy. The Clinical Compass is the organization in chiropractic that helps to build out clinical practice guidelines and best practice guidelines for chiropractic. Clinical practice guidelines and best practice guidelines use the best available scientific evidence, aggregates them, and creates a document that helps doctors translate the most recent science into practice every single day. If you go to our website, clinicalcompass.org, we have a ton of free resources available to you that you can utilize in your practice. And one of the most important ways that we have used the clinical practice guidelines, in addition to just improving clinical practice, is to fight third-party payer abuse. We, and I say collectively because, CHUSA was part of this, and other national organizations like the ACA, Chiro Congress, we aggregated the literature, much of it from Chiro Congress and some of the papers that we've published, to fight some of the abusive policies from third-party payers. And so it's been a very impactful organization. It's the best kept secret in chiropractic, but we've worked really, really hard to get exposure so that people understand that we're out there, that we've got free resources available, and you can fight insurance denials with the use of this literature. And we encourage that.
Absolutely. Incredible organization. And it will blow your mind, all of the amazing things that they're able to do when you do have an issue with denials. They're a wonderful resource to go to. I'm also, not only did I include a link to their website, but I encourage you to follow them on Facebook as well. There's a wonderful video in there about how they helped, along with many other organizations, for a problem with United Healthcare. So if you're still getting paid for the treatment of headache through United Healthcare, then you really need to go check out this video and see why, because a year ago that almost was taken away from chiropractic.
Yes, it was.
So, guys, go check it out. Dr. J, it is always amazing to spend some time with you and to have you on the webinar series. And I'm super excited because this hasn't happened in a really long time, but our paths will cross at the United Virginia Chiropractic Association convention this weekend. So we'll hang out. Next week, we have the power of delegation, making time work for you with Dr. Mark Santa. If you have not already registered for that webinar, I encourage you to do so now because, as you know, these things fill up fast. This webinar was recorded, so if you would like to share it with anybody on your team or a colleague, I encourage you to do so as well. Thank you so much for being part of the webinar today. We look forward to seeing you next week, next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.